I'm back with part three, y'all. Chaos and craziness inside my family. Um, I think that the way we were raised up too, I wanted to mention that my mother didn't know she had issues. Like today they got a name for everything, that HDD and anxiety, depression, everything has a label now. But when we were growing up, some of the things she did and how we lived, it all focused on those type of issues now that I'm older and I can see, what we went through and why was we going through it. Maybe she had some issues like that. So another street that we lived on, I want to speak on, is Market Street off of Van Dyke. Uh, the school I went to was like right behind our house, the next block, Burroughs. And we had kind of fun times over there. I was like, just had moved from Harper to Marcus, so I was probably like 13, 12, 13 when we moved there. And it was the people that live across the street from us. They had a big family too. There was 10 of us, people across the street. I think it was 9 of them. And their dad worked at Ford or Chrysler, one of them. And he used to sell weed. And he was real small, petite man. Mr. P is what people called him. And he used to come outside just his drawers, just like a stick inside some material. He was real skinny. Anyway, so I was friends with his daughters. They had a set of twins and another girl, um, one of their sisters. So it was us 4 girls and 2 girls that lived 2 doors down from them. So, we had our little crew. We used to do a lot of stuff over there, badass kids, house door wide open. A lot of stuff went on inside that house. One of the issues with us being bad and let loose into society as children, we decided one day we wanted to steal some bikes. So it was me, my 2 brothers, the 3 sisters across the street, the other 2 girls, and about 4 or 5 other boys from the neighborhood. We all take off walking down Van Dyke. And back then, 7 mile, 8 mile back that way, it was all, white folks. It wasn't no black people living down there yet. So we walked from our area all the way down there. We passed a big, huge graveyard. And y'all know how long and wide graveyards are. Ain't no shortcuts. You got to go past it to get where you're going. So we walked down there to 7 Mile Van Dyke. We made a left, and it was a grocery store called Great Scott's. We went up there and hung around, white folks looking at us like where they come from. We hung around until we got a chance, and my brother jumped on his bike, and we all took off running through the alley. He drove the bike. We running up the next block. Next thing you know, it's cars of white folks chasing us, people on foot chasing us. We running to people's houses, hiding. We everywhere. We done got separated. All 8, 12, however many of it was, we all get separated. But me and my brother who stole the bike, he ditched the bike, and me and him hid behind some bushes in front of these people's house. Like you got shrubbery out front of your house. We was laying on the ground behind the bushes. We was looking at the people running by. Where did they go? Which way? And those goddamn ends. They was calling us names and stuff. And they was zooming up and down the street looking, searching for us. I don't know what all they was gonna do to us if they'd caught us. But we stayed back there for a while. We end up thinking it's safe enough. Got up and started walking real fast and running halfway, trying to get up the Van Dyke so we can get back down to the area we live in. And this is the first time I seen my brother smoke. I think he was probably about 12 or so. He had a cigarette lighter in his pocket, which I never knew. He ended up picking up cigarette butts off the ground, lighting them up. And we kids, we smoking, walking down Van Dyke. Eventually, we would see 1 or 2 other people run and catch up with them. What happened? What happened? We walking. It took us a long time to get back home, seemed like. One thing we had to do is pass back by that graveyard. And we were still scared that these people was looking for us. We could not cut through anything, so we was running most of the way back. We just did bad stuff that had no, um, like that meant anything, just bad. Um, we used to play on the streets. It was one dog that lived on our street. He belonged to everybody, but he slept at our house. But he answered to everybody on the block. Dog chaser chased him down. We used to throw rocks at the dog chaser and mess him up from doing his job trying to catch our dog. We did bad stuff. We did good stuff too, like just try to play basketball, you know, stuff on the playground, baseball and all of that. But it seemed like every time we did that, the older kids would come and interfere. One time we was in the alley down at the corner of our block on St. Cyril and Marcus. These people had a basketball court behind their house, and everybody played on that, you know, with that basketball court. And me, one of my friends who lived across the street, and one of the other girls who lived a couple doors down from her, us three girls was back there playing basketball, trying to play basketball. My brother Pookie and one of his friends came up. He walked up. He was like, "Give me the ball." At the time, the girl who had the ball, it was her brother's ball. She wouldn't give it to him. She's like, we playing with it. We doing this. And she started playing. He walked straight up to her and slapped the light out of her. I mean, like he reached back and just slapped her. The ball flew. She stood there for a second and she started walking. We walked with her, me and the other girl. When nobody said nothing, he took the ball, started bouncing it, started playing with his friend. We left. We walked her to her porch. She sat on the porch. She didn't go in and tell her dad. She didn't tell her brothers, nobody. Because I think my brother Pookie was a menace in that area. He hurt people. Um, he did that. One day we was out playing, doing whatever we was doing. We heard ambulance coming. You know, it was getting closer and closer. I was like 2 blocks from our house, but seeing that it was turning down St. Cyril, seeing it was going down our block, we all took off running down that way. By the time we got down there, I seen the ambulance was at my house. So we got up to the porch and we standing there looking to see who they bringing out on the stretcher. I'm thinking it's my mama done had another, one of her episodes. She used to have these type, you know, I can't breathe, my heart, my chest, and go to the hospital for weeks or a week or 4 days or whatever they would keep her for. And me and my sisters came up with the conclusion that she just wanted to get away from us, you know, get a break. It was one of her broke weeks. She ain't had nothing. She wanted to go. So we used to say she was just getting away from us. But it wasn't her on the stretcher. It was my Aunt Sweet. It was her sister. We were standing there looking, and the guys was coming out with her on a stretcher. My cousin, Big Junior, was standing there holding the door and the screen door open so the ambulance can get his mother out of the house. And what had happened to her was my brother Pookie had jumped on her and beat her up, beat her pretty bad. Um, and of course, he was gone off, ran off wherever he went to while they was getting her out in case the police came, I guess. Um, so they was carrying her out the house, and her son, who was about a year younger than my brother Pookie, he didn't stop him. He didn't do nothing. He was scared of him too. So he held the door for them to get his mom out, and they end up dropping her down the steps. Like it was only like 7 stairs, but they dropped the stretcher, and she fell and rolled down, and she was a big woman too, like my mama, like almost 300-400 pounds or whatever. But they end up getting her and putting her in the ambulance, and that was devastating because he beat her. I don't know what all it was about. It probably was over really nothing. She might have said she wasn't gonna wash a load of clothes for him. You can get beat up by a Pookie. Uh, like I mentioned before in my other videos, he beat up a lot of people in our family. You know, stabbed them up, beat them up, did a lot of other things I've mentioned. So, um, another situation that happened there on Marcus is my sister, my oldest sister, she's dead now, the one that they found that was missing for the 2 days. She had a guy, she had 2 kids bound, and he was a long haul truck driver, you know, the ones that drive out of state and come back, and his name was John. Uh, he came, I think it was like a Friday because my mom was having a big old party that night. And there was a lot of people. It was probably about 12, 15 men and women in the living room, dining room. They was gambling at the table. They was playing cards, music playing, drinking the usual. Doors open. We were teenagers, like 13, 12, 14 or whatever. So we was in and out and the game was going on. But whatever happened, my sister and John Hughes went in the back room. I guess he asked her to talk to him or whatever. They went back there and he ended up coming out and leaving. And probably about almost 5 minutes later, she come crawling out of the back room, down the hallway, face beat, busted up, blood. She was bloody like somebody just had dashed her with something red. She was just dripping with blood. Everybody jumped up from the table, people running and screaming and trying to figure out what happened to her. And what it was, he had, I don't know what happened with them for him to beat her like that, but he had told her to come back there to talk or whatever. End up jumping on her, beat her bad, and walked past all those people out the house and left. Got in his truck and left. They end up calling the ambulance and everything, and she was in the hospital for about 2-3 days. When she came home, my mother had us to make her like a pallet on the sofa in the dining room, which was right outside my mom's bedroom. And she was laying out there healing up, she was in bad shape. So life going on, 1 or 2 days later, I'm in the kitchen washing dishes. And where I was standing in the kitchen, it's like you come in the back door, because this was the house that was a two-family flat. So we had in our kitchen, if you leave out our kitchen door, it was some stairs to go up, and then there was another door to lead outside. So the door that lead outside was closed and locked. The door to our kitchen was closed and locked. The sink is right here, the refrigerator right here, and on the other side, you can go into the dining room in the house. So I'm washing dishes and doing stuff. My sister keep calling me to bring her some water. Can you change this bandage? Can you do this? So at one point she had called me. I walked away from the kitchen sink to go in there to do that for her. And all I heard was gunfire. Somebody had shot through the back doors into our house, just blasted the back of the house. Everybody hit the floor. She fell off the couch on the floor. My mom on the floor. We crawling around, calling the police and everything. They come out when we went in the kitchen after they did their little investigation, and I was looking around. They must have used the gun with all the buckshots, out of a shotgun or whatever that's called, because where they shot through the door, if I had been standing there, I'd have caught all that. All them pellets and holes was in the side of the refrigerator right there by the sink. And I don't know who did it. We never found out who did it, but we think it's from something my brother Pookie or Larry had done out in the street, because they called themselves gang members. And over there where we lived on the east side of Detroit, and mind you, all the stories I tell you guys about is from the east side of Detroit. I've never lived on the west side. So they were in the Bishop. That was a gang on the east side of Detroit, and the chain gang was the west side. So they was supposedly in the Bishop gang. So we thinking it's from that shooting was from something from that. Another thing that happened in that house too, on Marcus, where my mama gave a New Year's Eve party, house full of people, all the kids up in the rooms or whatever, like they always do. I'm sure y'all do that now when y'all have gatherings. Y'all put y'all kids in the room with all their snacks or whatever they need, TV, whatever, and the adults party. But we all up in the rooms and stuff, doing whatever kids do. All of a sudden you hear gunshots, screaming, and people falling or running, and we run out the room to see. And I don't know which adults it was. They gathered us, herded us all up, pushed us out through that same back door, down the basement. We had to sit in the basement. I don't know how long we was down there. They had the New Year's party. People shoot at 12 o'clock on New Year's. They in here partying, dancing, lights on. So they shot up the front of our house all through the front window. Nobody got hit. Nobody got killed. But it happened. And it just was all kinds, you just name it. It just was something all the time where we had to run from bullets, run through fights, get out the way, not get hit, not get stabbed. Worry about somebody coming back who had a fight with one of our family members and they know where we at. We don't know where they live. My daddy came over one time, visit with my mom or whatever. She gave him money to go play her lottery. This is when they had the lottery where you played 3 and 4 digit street numbers. She played Detroit, Pontiac, this, that, the other. You know how they used to play that. And they take pennies and nickels. The lottery now, you play 50 cents, $1 and up. Back then, the number man, he took what you had and, played your numbers and paid you whatever. So my mama had gave my daddy money to play her numbers that day. He left. He didn't come back. He didn't come back the next day. When he did come back, he pulled up it wasn't a new truck. He had bought another truck. And he pulled up in front of the house and got out. As he was coming up the stairs, my mama ran out the door and she was like, "Oh, that's where my money went. You done bought you a new truck?" Because her number had came out. She had hit the lottery and that day, and he didn't show back up. But then when he did show up, he had that truck. So she was saying that that's what he did with her money. And she wanted her money and all that. And he was like, I ain't got no money with your truck. I didn't do that. I bought this truck with my own money. And she wasn't hearing that. She got her hammer. He thought she was coming to hit and beat on him with the hammer because remember, she stabbed him with the ice pick before and did a couple of other things to him real bad. So he ran. My daddy ran off the porch. He was trying to run towards his truck to get in, but she caught up with him and he turned left, ran up the sidewalk, and ran up towards the corner. She went to that truck with that hammer and she busted up all the windows. She beat the truck to death. And he didn't come down there, didn't stop her, and he just was at the corner hollering. Every time she hit him, he was like, oh, Liv, why you doing this to me, Liv? She tore that truck to shreds. And you wonder why she didn't keep no man, huh? Anyway, yeah, that was a few things that happened on Marcus, but we stayed there probably I'd say about 2 years, and we ended up moving down the street off Van Dyke on Weisner Street, and that's where my sister Joyce had met that weather guy that worked for Channel 4 named Sonny Elliott. And at that house it wasn't a whole lot of activity with the police, but it was everything else that went on. And then with the guy Sonny Elliott, he kind of made it more peaceful because my mom and them didn't want for nothing when he was around. So that's just a peek into unstableness, how we were raised. That's not how you raise kids. You ain't supposed to like have this type of activity going on almost a daily, for their lives, and then all that moving. I went to Burroughs, Osborne, Kettering, Persian, Murray Wright, King. I enrolled in school in East St. Louis, never went one day there. Just unstableness. So if that can help anybody, if you're doing anything like that and you want to change something to, help your kids in the long run, I mean, what I consider it is some friendly advice. All right, y'all.